Hello again and welcome to another edition of Shed Talk. I've finished assessing all of the hens and ranked them in order from 1 down and so on, so down to about 15, 16, 17 I think. And we'll have a look at those birds very shortly, so certainly have a look at the top 15. Once again, thanks for all the support on the last video. It's been absolutely tremendous, and for all those who have recently subscribed, and of course for the people who have subscribed for a long time. I do appreciate all of the support. I know there have been quite a few comments recently. I do get to them as soon as I can. Just do bear with me if I don't get back straight away. As always though, if you do enjoy the videos, don't forget to hit the like button, and you can of course subscribe. If you want early notifications of the videos, then do just click on the bell. So let's take a quick look at my top 15 hens. So the first of the hens to look at then, number 15 on the left, which is a dark green, and number 14 on the right, which is a young grey cinnamon. So we'll start with number 15, which is the dark green. This bird did actually breed for me last year, partly because I had a couple of birds that refused to go down, they just couldn't get into condition. Won't go in the breeding cage this year. You can see that she's quite a long bird. There's no width, no bulk about the body. Does have a reasonable mask on her when you look at her like this, but nothing across the head, very narrow. I suppose the other feature that she's got going for her is she's got quite a nice style about her, so a nice straight back. So that is number 15. Would I put her in the sales cage? She could do. I'd need to double check her background. I have a feeling that this one either sits very tight or is possibly one of the feather pluckers, so I'd have to double check before I put her in the sales cage. Certainly wouldn't want to pass it on to anybody else. So let's move on to number 14. This is a this year's hen, so 2021 hen. So it's still got quite a bit of growing to do. I'll just see if I can steady her on the perch a bit. Which is going to be unlikely, I guess. She really doesn't like being in the show cage at all. I had real problems with this one when I was trying to assess it, because she just wouldn't settle at all the whole time in the show cage. Again, not a great hen by any means. Very narrow across the top of the head, but as I say, does have a little bit more growing to do, so it's possible that that she might fill out a little bit still, produce a little bit more across the top of the head, although I doubt whether she'll get any better width about her. Maybe she'll, with her old age, will settle a little bit in the cage, who knows. Anyway, there's number 14, unlikely to go in the breeding cage this year. So here we are then with number 14 and 13, obviously 14 the grey on the left and 13 is the cinnamon sky blue on the right. The cinnamon sky blue is again another one of this year's birds, and another one who's not overly happy in the show cage, although behaving herself a little bit better than the grey. Not a lot, but a little bit. Another feather plucked bird. Once again, because it's this year's bird, probably got a bit of growing to do. She's again not got much of a head on her really, lets her down. A bit better in the body in terms of the size. I'll just see if we can get a better view of her. So like I say, a little bit better in the body. Difficult to see with her jumping around as she is. Not a lot between this bird and the grey cinnamon as well. So just shows my show training is not very good, doesn't it? Definitely not used to being in a show cage. So there we go. Once again, sorry about the poor performance of these birds, so you don't really get a very good view of them. But not the greatest of birds anyway, I feel. Once again, young bird, possibly next year or late on in this year's breeding season. So that is number 13. So here we are with number 14 and 13, with the cinnamon light green on this side here. At number 13, probably get a slightly better view of the sky blue now as well, the sky blue cinnamon. So, but let's have a look at the cinnamon green. Okay, so this is a fairly old bird, and I suppose that's one of the reasons why it's so far down the list. Quite a nice style, holds its tail really well. Some reasonable sized spots on her. A little bit lacking across the top of the head and width across the top of the head, but otherwise, you know, a reasonable old stock bird. Unlikely to go back into the show cages because of her age, but you never know. Sorry, into the breeding cage because of her age, but you never know. She has proved a little bit of an escape artist lately. Has managed to get out of one of the holding cages twice so far today by lifting the door. So if she does go in the breeding cage, I'll have to make sure that the door is kept well secured. So that is numbers 13 and number 12. So time to have a look at numbers 12 and 11. 12 is the light green cinnamon on the left, although looking at it now it might even be a dark green cinnamon. Obviously the cinnamon affects the darkness of the main body colour. But on the right hand side, which we'll have a look at, is number 11. This bird just literally lost its tail as I was taking her out of the cage, so normally does have a full tail, so please don't hold that against her. Not a bad bird. Once again, this year's bird, and still got a bit of growing to do, so this will probably be a very nice hen, and I suspect we'll get a chance in the breeding cage at some stage, either late this year or definitely early next year. Still going through a bit of a molt. You can see she's another one of these birds that was feather plucked as a youngster. Whether she'll ever get all those feathers back, I don't know. But you can, I think if you, let me just see if I can pan out and give you a better view of the two birds. I think you'll agree, just by looking at them, that she is a much bigger bird. Feels bigger in the hand. She's a bit loose at the moment because I think she's molting, because that's why the tail came up so easily when I was getting her out of the cage, but much bigger in the face. So there we go, number 11. Time to move on to the top 10. So let's now have a look at numbers 10 and 11. So number 11 on the left, the bird we just looked at, the cinnamon light green. And number 10, so the first of my top 10 birds is this grey. Not a lot between these birds, and in actual fact, looking at them now, I would have probably given the cinnamon light green the edge. However, at the time of looking at them, this one came out just very slightly on top. So let's have a quick look at the grey. Grey bird's normally a complete bird, but once again, it's got a bit of a scruffy tail on her at the moment. But otherwise, not a bad bird. Nice and clean around the back of the head. A little bit dipped at the back, so got a little bit of a hunch on the shoulder where the back of the head meets the shoulder. You can probably see that there. A reasonable mask on her, and some quite nice feathering across the top of the head. So that's number 10. May or may not get a go in the show cage, and I definitely think that number 11 will end up being a much better bird than her. As I say, 11's a this year's bird, so I've got a bit of growing to do still. So that's number 11 and number 10. We're now looking at number 10 and number 9. So number 10 on the left, the grey cinnamon that we have previously seen, and number 9 on the right, as usual, which is a grey cinnamon dominant pied. Well, both these two birds are the same age, so they're both relatively old for hens, so 2018 hens. If you look at this dominant pied, whilst it's a little bit shorter in the body than the grey, it has in my view, a much better face on it. So plenty of spot, nice broad mask, quite wide across the shoulder, and reasonable width between the head for my shed anyway. So you can get a bit of a closer view of its face. The only real problem with this bird is its wing carriage and the tail, both of which aren't the best. May or may not get a chance in the breeding cages this time round, depending on how the others go. He's quite old, so probably last chance in reality. So that is 9 and 10. Once again, moving on, we now have numbers 9 and number 8. We've already looked at number 9, which is the dominant pied. Quick look now then at number 8, which is this light green cinnamon hen. This is this year's a 21 bird. If I can get him to turn a little bit and stand a little bit better. Hopefully. So I say again, this year's bird, not the biggest of birds when you hold her in the hand, but like I say, still this year's birds have still got a little bit of growing to do. Quite a reasonable length bird for my shed, and once again has a Quite a nice face on her. See if I can get her to look at us. So quite a nice mask, reasonable width. We'll probably get a chance in the breeding cage at some stage, either late this year or early next year. You can see she's still suffering from the feather plucking on the wing, as a number of birds are. So, but quite pleased with how this hen has turned out. So that is numbers 8 and 9. So now having a look at number 7 and 8. 8 on the left we've already seen. Looking at these two side by side now, I could have put these the other way around, but at the time when I was judging them, they came out the opposite. So you can all see it depends on how they're standing. But let's have a look at number 7 then. This is a grey cinnamon, slightly older bird than the other one. Quite a nice broad bird this, nice and width, some nice width across the shoulder for my shed. Not the greatest of mask though, but plenty of width between the eyes. And a nice stocked hen from my point of view. Expect she will get a chance in the breeding cage this time round. Holding the tail nice and straight, whereas she can tend to drop it a little bit. Also not hooking over on the top of the head either, which some of these my grey-green cinnamons tend to do. Got a slightly better view of her face there now. Pan back out so you can get a view of both of them again. And there we go. So number 8 and number 7. Moving on towards the top 6 now. And the first of the birds are going 6 and 7. 7 on the left and 6 on the right, as per usual. But these two are sisters, as you can probably gather. So not a lot between these two birds. I just felt when I was judging them that this one here has got a slightly better face. Slightly deeper mask and better across the top of the head. I'll just see if I can get her to stand up a bit straighter. At the moment just wants to look at the cage. There you go, you can see the face now, or a little bit better. This bird will go in the breeding cage. A little bit short, and it might be because she stood so far back across the cage, but has a little bit of a hook neck. But I think she's got a slightly better face than the bird that came in at number 7, although I expect both of these will get a go in the breeding cage at some stage. So that's number 6. We'll go, my first of the birds that I'm going to look to pair up, subject to finding them a nice partner. Let's have a look at the first bird in the top 5. So moving on to the top 5, these two birds then, number 6 on the left, which we've already looked at, and number 5 is on the right. Number 5, the one climbing the cage bars at the moment, is this year's young bird. And we'll see if I can get her to settle a little bit. given that this is a much younger bird than the bird on the left that we've looked at, a much better bird. Still got a bit of growing to do. So that's a bonus. We also, she also has quite a nice long mask on her. Leave that in the bottom and see if she'll stay up with it. No. So she's also got quite a nice long mask on her. And in terms of style, slightly better style than the other one, the other cinnamon grey green. There we go. She might be a bit steadier now, looking at the stick. But you can see the size of the mask, quite a nice flow across the top of the head, and a bit more width as well. Really quite pleased with this hen for one of this year's birds. So that there is number 5 and number 6. As I say, both these going into the show cage. Moving on then to numbers 5 and number 4. So 5 on the left we've looked at. She's steadied down a little bit now, so I'll just give you a bit of a close-up of her. Let's see what I mean by the length of the mask on her. So, and this is number 4, a dominant pied cinnamon grey. Little bit older bird, or quite a lot older bird actually. So probably the last time this one will go into the breeding cage. Once again, got a nice deep wide mask on her, nice shoulders from my stud point of view, or my shed point of view, and quite a bit of width between the eyes. I do think that if I just pan out, she's decided to drop down now, but I do think that the cinnamon grey will actually turn out to be a much better bird, which is quite pleasing as it's one of this year's. So there we go, number 5 and number 4. So now we're looking at numbers 4 and 3. The dominant pied grey on the left that we've already looked at, and this normal dark green on the right. If I just pan across to her, you can get a view of her. Whilst this bird in terms of the top of the head isn't as good, the rest of the bird I quite like. It's a very long hen, it's actually got quite a henny look about her in terms of over the top of the head. She has a reasonable mask and quite nice big spots. Sits well normally on the perch, and like I say, it's quite a long bird, so it's a bit younger than the dominant pied. And for those of you that will remember my scoring system, I do weight it towards younger birds anyway. So this grey green will get a go in the breeding cage. She actually looks not in too bad condition already, so perhaps we can get her in quite quickly. Pan back out so you can see them together. Number 4 and number 3. So let's have a look at 3 and 2. So number 3 is the dark green that we saw, and number 2, so in terms of when I was assessing them, the second best hen in my shed is this yellow face, opaline, sky blue cinnamon, I believe it is. So this bird is really nice for in terms of hens for mine. It's got a little bit markings round on the saddle, but it's not too bad. I like the face on this bird. It has a nice deep mask, reasonable sized spots for an opaline, not as good as many opalines, and as you can see it has a bit of blow across the top of the head, so we'll add something, I hope, to the cockbird that I will put her with. Not quite as wide between the eyes as I would like, but it may be just partly because it is quite a big bird. When you hold her in your hand, she feels quite big, so that may distort this slightly. Could do it a bit more length, so again, perhaps need to put her to a slightly longer cockbird. But yeah, there you go, you can see her face now. Pleasant looking hen. And I'm hoping we'll do well in the breeding cage for me. So number 2, let's move on and have a look at what beat her then. So 1 and 2. Number 2, which we've already looked at, is on the left as usual, and number 1 is another opaline, cinnamon sky blue. Hopefully she'll settle a little bit in a second. Nice clean opaline, has a reasonable face on this bird. Quite a nice looking hen. Reasonable width between the eyes for my shed. Stands well on the perch. Nice straight back and tail line. When she settles in the cage, she just looks like a nice hen. A bit bigger than the other opaline. Not a lot between these two birds though. And once again, she does have a little bit of a dirty patch on the back of the on the saddle, but not too bad. Nice and clean over the top. If I can clean up the saddle, I could get some quite useful opalines off of those 2 opalines. So that's number 1 in my shed. Having been bit to pieces now by these hens, got to try and get them all back in the cage, ready to pair up. Just pan out again. You can see 1 and 2 together. There you go, let me have your thoughts. Any that you would have put another way round? As I say, now we've just got to think about. Well, that's the top 15 hens looked at then. Let me know your thoughts on those hens and how you might have ranked them differently. Obviously, seeing them in the video and seeing them in the flesh is quite different anyway, and the birds can change from one moment to the next, but that's how I rank them anyway. Do let me know your thoughts. I've shortly got another show, so it's the Swindon DS members show. It's only going to be a small show from what I can gather. If I get a chance, I will video some of the birds there and some of the winners and put that up. Like I say, if I do get a chance, I will do that. In the next main shed update video, we're going to look at the first 6 pairs, and I'll show them you. We'll have a quick discussion about why they're paired up like that and so forth. So in terms of their relationship and what they might add to each other. But until then, as always, please do stay safe and enjoy your birds.